Welcome to this surprise edition of the BoomBastiCAST, where we will talk about the 2020 Academy Awards. That's why we're all dressed up, ready to go to the big party.
Dressed up in our finest attire.
Later tonight, everybody should be watching, to see who's going to be winning and losing. So we figured we'd take this time to pop up a little episode and give our picks for who we think will be victorious on this such evening of the Academy Awards. See who will get the Golden Man.
Who's going to go home with the Golden God?
So I know briefly you wanted to talk a little bit about some snubs.
All right.
The biggest snubs that I could think of was the Uncut Gems snub with Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to watch it?
Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to watch it. I do want to see it. And I have to say, while, again, I haven't seen it, but from what I've seen and what I've talked to Matt about, definitely it is a thing I think that should have been nominated for at least Adam Sandler for best actor.
Yeah, I think it should have caught Sandler a nice nomination. I think it should have caught the Safdie brothers a best director nomination. I think it should have got a best picture nomination. I even think it should have got a nice supporting role, supporting actor. But what's his name? Eric Bogosian should have got best supporting. Anybody who's seen the movie is the guy who plays his cousin, who you feel is a bigger part of the situation until you find out he's not that important in the situation. But yeah, I caught it at the theater, the local theater, my local Cineplex. Is starting to show independent films, which is nice. They had this. I know they had Mandy, last year or 2 years ago, whenever that was out. So I'm happy to see them. But yeah, we liked to poke in and caught this flick. It was a good time. Very intense film. They also, I think, I don't think I'm spoiling anything. It's been out long enough. But Sandler's like a gambling addict, and it's kind of like every other addiction movie you see, whether it be drugs or alcohol or whatever, how it slowly destroys the person. It's the same type of deal with that. Sandler doesn't do dramatic that often. His other notable one, I think, is Punch Drunk Love, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That was a good one. And I don't know if he was nominated for that, or if Paul Thomas Anderson was. He should have been. He usually does get nominated every time he comes out the gate with the film, but that whole movie might have been a little under the radar. But yeah, I was surprised to see Sandler didn't get the respect when they were doing all like the round tables. So they do like round table talks with actors and directors and producers and such as the Academy Awards approach. I like to watch them to see. Because we're indie filmmakers, and a lot of people say, fuck Hollywood, fuck the Oscars. But I always consider the Academy Awards like the Super Bowl of film, because you got the biggest teams, if you will, putting out their films to be judged and to compete and, go for it. And there's usually some films in there that, we like and think should be, given the praise that they're giving. Thus, we'll get into them in this episode. And we can kind of root for it, root for your team of who you think you should win and deserves to win. You know what I mean? The GOAT, if you will.
The GOAT.
The GOATs of cinema 2019. So, I guess with no further ado, we could probably pop into the first category. So the first category up is production design. I think very good. The nominees are The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Okay. Did you have an opinion on any of these films here?
Well, out of all of them, the ones that I actually got to see was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and also The Irishman. And And I have to say, I mean, I'd go. I mean, out of those two that I've seen, I would have to go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I agree. I've got it on my list.
Oh my God, it's a red
So
letter day. The two of us agree on something.
that
That is odd.
that means them it must be taking home the gold statue.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so that's good. That's it for production design. We'll move on to the next category: best animated feature film. You want to go through the nominations?
The nominations are How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, I Lost My Body, Klaus, Missing Link, and Toy Story 4.
Beautiful. Now with this one, I haven't seen any of these films, but I did a little research.
Okay.
I feel like Alex will probably say Toy Story 4, and Toy Story 4 will probably win, but I went with an underdog for this, and I picked I Lost My Body because it just seemed like a fun little uh, animated feature film, you know what I mean? And I didn't hear anything about it. I believe it was from a different country.
Uh, well, actually, well, out of all these, the only one I actually saw was Toy Story 4, as Matt guessed, but I would actually I'll put my horse behind another one,
Interesting.
and that is Missing Link.
Ooh.
Because from my memory, Missing Link is stop motion animation.
Okay, very nice.
And I have to admit, me personally, I have a great weakness when it comes to stop motion animation.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4, I loved it. I thought it's funny because when they did Toy Story 3, they had such a great ending to it that
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is the end. Toy Story, the entire series is done. Okay, I can leave happy with that. And then they said they were doing Toy Story 4, and I was like, I mean, you just had a perfect ending. Why do you want to do another one? But I do have to admit, Toy Story 4, they did have another, great ending, and they also brought back a character that I was happy that they did, which was Bo Peep, because, you know, they they very briefly mention about, about losing friends along the way.
Mm.
And there was a brief, kind of a thing about, Bo Peep that, somehow she got lost. In this one, it explains.
Heroin addiction for Bo Peep.
But it explains what happened to her, and then it was a very touching and great thing. Where also, I mean, in this one, you have a villain who's really not a villain. You can understand where this character is coming from, and this character goes to extreme lengths, and then of course finding out that what she wants wasn't going to happen the way she thought it would, but ended up with a great ending. Like I said, I like Toy Story 4. Um, I only throwing my backing behind uh the Missing Link because, like I said, stop when it comes to stop motion animation, I am a big sucker for that, especially knowing how hard and how much work one has to
That's true.
put into it.
Very
And I did not see it. I did see a behind the scenes thing where they were talking about the like the hair on the Link character,
Mhm.
which is supposed to be like the missing link, which is
Yeah,
Sasquatch,
yeah.
and where they each like little thing of hair they uh you know take the time and make it. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I mean, that kind of stuff I'm a big sucker for, so I would throw my hat in the ring for the missing link.
True. I mean, it took more work to put it together.
Yeah,
Agreed. Hey, you might be right.
maybe we'll see. Oh, I'm rooting for you, missing link.
Next.
International feature film.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Um, our nominations are Corpus Christi from Poland,
Yeah.
Honeyland from North Macedonia, like the nut. Les Miserables, which isn't that describing what the movie is? Miserables. From France.
Yeah.
Pain and Glory from Spain, and Parasite from South Korea. What did you have for your pick?
Well, I know it's kind of crazy for me to make a pick because, to be perfectly honest, I have not seen any of these. But from the bit that I've seen in trailers and interviews and all that, I actually am leaning towards Pain and Glory. It stars Antonio Banderas, who's also up for leading actor Oscar award.
He's good.
Yeah, and from what I understand, based on the story of the director who directed Pain and Glory, where he's a filmmaker. First of all, and also he happens to be homosexual.
Okay.
Which deals with the pain of not being dealing with that society, but in Spain, I mean, every different country has their own different ways of how they react to those who don't fit what they consider the norm or the mold. And like I said, I mean, from the bits I've seen of Antonio Banderas, little clips, it looks really good. I know that there's a lot of hype. A lot of people love Parasite. I know that my friend Matt has seen it and has a lot of you know. But I myself, I always like to throw the hat in the ring for the underdog. And out of all of them, Parasite and Pain and Glory are the only ones that really have seemed to be given some more nods than the others.
Mm.
And like I said, big fan of Antonio Banderas, and I always love the fact when I mean, he's done a lot of different dramatic work, but he hasn't really been kind of recognized, I would say, for his dramatic work. And I really am happy that he at least got a nomination. And like I said, I would throw my hat in for Pain and Glory.
I hear you. My pick for best international or foreign film would be Parasite. Granted, Parasite was the only film on this list that I seen, but I thought it was really well done. It was a cool, like, psychological thriller type film and had a lot of style to it. And it got a lot of buzz, which, let's face it, buzz is kind of more important than films, the actual film itself nowadays, or probably has always been. But I thought Parasite was really good. So, and I didn't quite think that it would take Best Picture, even though it is nominated for it. I think it'll definitely take Best International Film, for sure. And the next category is Best Documentary Short Subject. And these got long names.
Yeah.
And you get to do the nominations.
Oh, okay. The nominations are In the Absence, Ye Sung Jun and Gary Byung Sia Kam. Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone If You're a Girl, Carol the Singer and Elena Andricheva. Life Overtakes Me, John Haptis and Christine Samuelson. St. Louis Superman, Smriti Mandhara and Sami Khan. And Walk, Run, Cha Cha, Laura Nix and Colette Sandstedt.
I didn't mean you needed to do the people's names. That made it even worse.
I'm sorry.
But good job. I applaud you.
Thank you, thank you. Just to let you know, if anyone from the Oscars is watching, I'm throwing in my name for next year's host.
Host.
Yeah,
I back that. I back that
yeah.
decision. Um, I'll go first. I didn't see any of these films, but I did. I picked Life Overtakes Me because I liked the name of the movie. I thought that had the best name. How about you?
Well, again, it's great. I haven't seen any of these either. Um, but I would throw in my hat behind St. Louis Superman.
Okay.
Just because it also sounds cool.
That is the first key to a successful movie. Is
Yes,
the
yes, the
name.
title. The title is what is it draws you in.
Yeah. All right. Next category.
Next category is documentary feature.
Mm. Now the nominations for this category is American Factory, The Cave, The Edge of Democracy, For Sama, and Honeyland. Did you have a pick on this?
Again, unfortunately, I have not seen any of these. And it's kind of funny, picking
Movies you haven't seen, I understand.
yeah, but I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for The Edge of Democracy because I think I don't know what it's really about or anything.
You like the name?
I love the name.
Okay.
You?
I haven't seen any of these documentaries either, but I will take the political stance and say For Sama will win.
Okay.
All right. Our next category is makeup and hairstyling.
Ooh.
Our nominations are Mr. Hawk.
Bombshell, Joker, Judy, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and 1917.
All right.
So do you want to?
I'll go first. See, this was this was kind of a toss up for me. Um, Maleficent, the Mistress of Evil. I know there's a lot of weird costumes in it, and I believe her hair. Isn't her hair really weird in that?
Actually, I mean the thing is, I think it's actually more of costume because it's not really her hair. I think it's like her horns or something like that.
I will, but my pick was Joker. Because the makeup and hairstyling for a lot of like Bombshell is just kind of nothing crazy. Judy was nothing crazy. 1970 was just kind of 17 was just kind of that time. So I went with Joker because I liked his makeup. Hakeem's makeup in Joker, I thought that was really good. So realistically, I just gave it to it for that, and the nice green hair, which was cool. But yeah, that was really my reason for makeup and hairstyling. Yeah. So my pick would have been Joker. What was your pick, Alex?
Well, I have to say, I'm going to go with Bombshell.
Okay.
I mean, I actually, it's one of those movies I really did want to see, but I didn't get to see it. But watching the trailers and all that, you're right. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing out of the ordinary. They didn't break any boundaries or did anything that was totally out there. But I thought that especially the three women, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, and Charlize Theron. I mean, the hairstyling they got, the makeup. I mean, they really stood out. I mean, if I was, I mean, looking at the trailer, Judy. I mean, I was like, eh. And 1917. I mean, it's a war movie. You got, yeah. I mean, those kind of things. I feel, and also with Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and even the Joker. I felt more of them were more costume driven. but Bombshell, I mean, hair and makeup was like the big thing out of those.
Mm.
I mean, the costumes really, but I mean, like, how they had their hair done and the makeup, I thought was, noticeable. I mean, the other ones,
Okay.
it didn't seem that noticeable. I mean, other than, of course, the Joker stylized makeup. But like I said, Bombshell, I thought, was the one movie that, makeup and hairstyling actually seemed to, be prominent.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, our next category is.
Ooh.
What is it?
Costume design.
Woo! Our nominees for that are The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Ooh.
Now, this is kind of a complicated one because all of these films had good costumes in it.
Yeah.
Except for The Irishman was pretty just straightforward suits and such. But Jojo Rabbit seemed very, colorful and I guess colorful. I don't know. And they were kind of hip. They kind of had like a hip look to them. Joker, of course, was his outfit's really cool. I really enjoyed his outfit. The Little Women, it's a period piece, of course, but I feel like we've seen so many of those movies nowadays. There's probably a movie from this era made every year. You know what I mean? So it's not. It's just recycled clothing. I'm sure it's not really a big achievement in costume.
Yeah.
And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Um, I didn't see Jojo Rabbit. I've only seen pictures. Like I said, I liked the Joker costume, but I would probably give costume design to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just for bringing everything back to that 1969 era of living.
Yeah.
They really went into that world, recreated the look and the clothing and everything. How about you?
Well, I have to. I do agree with Matt that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I thought. I mean, if you're going with the strictly costume design of the time period and all that,
Mm-hmm.
I believe they really nailed it. And but I'm going to actually throw my hat in for Jojo Rabbit.
I thought
Not,
you would. I had a feeling you were gonna.
well, the thing is, I mean, again, I haven't seen it. I've only seen trailers, but the reason I'm throwing it in for Jojo Rabbit is while it is technically supposed to be a period piece, during World War II and all of that, it's the best way I can say is it's almost like feels like almost like an alternate dimension kind of where you have the standard costumes and all
Mm-hmm.
that with little flares.
Yeah.
There's little, it's not just the it's like not recreating the time period, but it's like taking the time period and then adding a little something, so it's just a little off kilter,
Mm-hmm.
which I think helps with the whole Jojo Rabbit thing is supposed to be a commentary,
Right.
and even though it's taking place during a certain time period, it's not a period piece.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean that's why I think Jojo Rabbit probably is a better costume design than some of the other ones in here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Jojo Rabbit. I'd say the Jojo Rabbit or Once Upon a Time in
Yeah.
Hollywood will take the gold statue on that one.
Yeah.
Our next category is, you guessed it, original score. Um, are you doing the nominees or did I
Yep.
do them
I'll, I'll
last? Okay.
um I'll do the
You can do
nom.
them. You're
Okay.
better than me at it, anyways.
Original score is Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, I've only seen a few of these. Um, Marriage Story, Joker, and also Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, I have to say, I mean, those who know me, I have been a Star Wars fan for a long time, and also those who know me that, for the most part, I've kind of fallen out of following Star Wars
Hmm.
because I mean, they the new movies really aren't connecting with me. But I did go see Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and just hands down, John Williams is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best composers when it comes to soundtracks for films.
Agreed.
And while I think like Marriage Story and The Joker had good music, I cannot tell you how I mean, I don't remember watching it and being moved or you know excited or be touched like on a personal level
Hmm.
by any of the music. Now, when you have John Williams doing anything, especially even though it is, you know, he did the Star Wars movies before, so he in the long run, if you go and dissect it, I'm sure that he didn't do anything too different or too
Agreed.
new in this. But when even though I wasn't a huge fan of
Hmm.
the new Star Wars, the music brought me in. It really it gave me the nostalgia feeling of the classic Star Wars I fell in love as a kid. So for me, it's the only music that kind of you know, touched me.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. I agree with you completely. Like, isn't the music to Star Wars the same in every movie? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the thing is that there are like different themes for different characters, and the thing is that there's always that underlying of
Theme,
even when he changes it, there's that underlying Star Wars theme.
which I is nostalgia. You know, I
Yeah,
can understand you hear that and you go, "Ooh," like it gets to you.
yeah. Even when, like I said, I'm not as invested in the story. You hear that music, and I'm suddenly a young kid again watching Star Wars: A New Hope for the first time.
Yeah.
And like I said, and plus also, nothing against anyone else, but John Williams, when it comes to music, he's always going to get my hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 1917 score was pretty good from what I heard. Um, it was surprising to see Randy Newman doing Marriage Story. Wasn't he the dude who did the Toy Story movies? Or am I
Um.
thinking of something else? Is that you got a friend in me? Yabba
Uh,
dabba doo. Isn't he that dude?
it could be.
Um,
I don't remember.
he's the one that did like Small People or People Too song from like back in the day.
Um.
My pick was Joker. I thought Joker had a really good score. I liked it a lot. You know, with the
Yeah.
emotional parts in it. It was very, it was some sad stuff, and then when it went into the more action stuff or however paced, whatever pace they were going for, I thought it was really good time. So even though Hildur Guðnadóttir was maybe not as well known as John Williams, I went with Joker. Um, I thought that was the best original score from what I've seen, what I heard. Oh, the next category
Is
is. But I do agree with you with the John Williams thing.
yeah.
But my feel on John Williams in the Star Wars films are they're pretty much the same thing in each movie, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because it gives you that feel.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
nostalgia feel.
like I remember when I went to go see the newer, not recently coming out, but the last Ghostbusters movie, the all
Yeah.
female one. And I remember getting goosebumps when they started having the music in the beginning because it's that music just
Yeah,
is
elicits a
yeah,
response.
it holds exactly.
Yeah.
It holds a special place in people's hearts. Our next category up is,
Original song.
and those songs would be a little something like this. I can't let you throw yourself away. That was the song about Bo Peep on heroin, if I remember correctly. And that was correct. Randy Newman is the dude that does the Toy Story films. Next up is I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man. I'm Standing With You from Breakthrough. I
Yeah.
don't. I think that's the only time that film was nominated.
Yeah.
And Into the Unknown, Frozen 2,
Yeah.
and finally Stand Up from the film Harriet. Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Well, to be perfectly honest, the only one that I've actually gotten around to seeing is Toy
Toy
Story
Story.
4. And and I mean it I to be perfectly honest, even if I saw all the others, I'd probably still go with Toy Story 4. Um because it's a very nice song, and not saying it's exactly like I said with John Williams, but it kind of, because like you said, Randy Newman did the original song from Toy Story, and then
I think he's done all of them.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then this one, it kind of brings you back to the original Toy Story, which I loved when it came out, and like I said, I really like the song, and I mean, admittedly, I didn't see the other four, but I throw my hat in the ring for that one.
I can't let you throw yourself away. I'm sure that's what it sounds like. Um, Rocket Man is not getting the love that Bohemian Rhapsody got last year. Let's
Yeah,
just say that. I think this is the only thing it was nominated for. Which, if you're making a movie about Elton John, I'd like to think that you would catch some type of song nomination. So I think that's why they got it. My pick is I choose the song "Stand Up" from Harriet. I have not seen Harriet, but knowing the story around Harriet Tubman and a song called Stand Up, I'm sure it has a lot of emotion and is pretty powerful, probably in the film. So that's why it got my vote. The next category for 2020 Academy Awards is Best Visual Effects.
visual effects.
And I feel that me and Alexander are probably gonna link up on this one again.
I don't know.
Do you want me to roll through the flicks, or did I do that last time?
You did last time. I'll
Okay,
do it this
you
time.
got it, baby.
Number one is Avengers Endgame.
Ooh, and is it really the end? It is, right? Because
there's never an end.
well, isn't that the end for certain players in the game,
Well,
like Robert Downey?
yeah, I think it's well, I mean, as I always joke around, it's a comic book movie. Death has no
Unless
meaning.
they break out the checkbook,
Yeah.
the almighty checkbook with the superhero cape
Oh.
on it.
Second, we got The Irishman.
Yes.
Third, The Lion King. 1917, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh.
As he said, we probably will definitely agree on this one. But I do want to kind of make a little comments about three other ones on the list.
Sounds good.
Okay. First, Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. I mean, the visual effects are great. And all that, but I mean, nothing that that I can think of that really blew my mind. I guess. Of Now, I haven't seen The Lion King. I have seen the trailers and seen some behind the scenes stuff. I I'm going to just say this, that I understand Disney, infatuation with going back to the well and, draining some more money out of people's pockets, showing us the exact same thing we saw, but with little, very slight differences to try to tell us it's a new product. But, uh, especially with all this new live action things, with, you had Cinderella, you had Beauty and the Beast, and first of all of this was computer generated, which I mean, why it's in visual effects. But
Walt
what?
Disney was a Nazi
Well, yeah, we know that, but
and a child molester.
uh
Scary Barry told me Walt Disney was a child molester, so I don't know if he was touched by Walt Disney in more than just a heart, or if he knows more than us all.
but any
Okay, back to what you were saying.
back to what I'm
Back to
saying
the important stuff.
is that while from my opinion, I did not see anything a- over the exciting or anything with the visual effects.
Mhm.
I mean, they looked like typical 3D animation that was okay, I guess. Um, yeah, yes, I do.
I wonder if it was shot in 3D. A lot of people are doing the cheap way where they're just shooting it regular and
Yeah.
then doing the visual effects, throwing
Yeah.
it in 3D and vision and post.
But yeah, so I mean that's my big problem with the Lion King. The Irishman, the big thing with the de aging and all that, I mean, it just really didn't work. And honestly, as far as I'm concerned, was you know if they actually instead of doing the visual effects and just did a little decent regular makeup, okay, that would have been enough to to do it, because something about the way they played with the face, it just it kind of took me out of the movie sometimes.
Well,
And
my my
yeah,
opinion, I didn't think that. A lot of people were saying that it took him out of it, and I respect your opinion, of
yeah,
course. A lot of people were saying that the de aging process like ruined the movie for him and stuff. For me, it didn't. It didn't ruin anything for me. Wasn't the greatest, but definitely wasn't the worst.
yeah.
I felt. I think if they wanted to do any de aging work, they should have made Bobby De Niro not look like a 90-year-old man beating up a dude on the side of a street. That was the most. That is what took me out of.
Yeah.
If anything, that was what took me out of. You know,
Hold on,
the aging
hold on.
issue.
I'm going to break a hip, but I'm going to beat your ass. Uh.
At that point, they should have gave him the green leg bodysuit situation,
Yeah.
and then put fake legs in there kicking that guy around.
Well,
instead of
well.
like,
To be perfectly honest, you remember the scene. It was far enough away. They could have just had a body double.
that's very true. I mean, yeah, this day and age, they put the shit on the people's face for like
Yeah.
the
Get a
Planet of
younger
the Apes
man.
movie. The
Yeah.
boy from Planet of the Apes could have had a nice check out of that.
Yeah.
Um, but Bobby D's always, if you look at the older mafia movies, Bobby D's always had like a weird, because he's never been in a fight. You know what I mean? But who knows? I'm sure he's been in fights. But Bobby hasn't had to kick someone's head off the ground for many, many moons. So like, I think it's just part of that. And I bet he was picturing Donald Trump in his head when he did that.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the only part that really made me go, yeah, that's a little. I don't know, that's a little too much. But I mean that it is what it is, you know. But I agree with you. It was wide enough, and with technology, they could have easily
Yeah.
had another dude. But for all we know, Bobby D could have said,
I'm
"I
going
want
to
to
do
beat it. I'm doing it, dude. I'm doing my own stunt work. I want stunt credit on this fucking thing."
But anyway, to as you probably guessed, both of us agree that Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Well, I did have my problems with Avengers Endgame, which I voiced earlier. Um, Special effects was top notch. and especially when you have all those people, the people coming from the different, you know, portals and all that. It's yeah, and with the bringing everyone in and out, by far. I mean, Avengers Endgame. I can't see it not winning visual effects,
I mean,
hands
you
down.
can't really beat a superhero movie on visual effects. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Through and through, even things that don't need to be visually affected are visually
visually
affected.
affected.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
N- Next up is live action short film. The nominees are Brotherhood, Nefta Football Club, The Neighbor's Window, Ciara, Saria, and A Sister. I did not see any of these films. Originally, I was going to say The Neighbor's Window. I might change it to A Sister because I love my sister so much, and that's how important this category is. I'll flip it like that. All right. What did you have? What did you pick?
Well,
I will say this. The people that win this award, you will be seeing in years to come because part of the formula of growing as a big, big Hollywood, player is, you enter with these smaller shorts and such, and then you get some heat on you from that, and then you start doing the features where so this is an important category. This is kind of like the upcoming who's gonna be rivaling for future awards.
well, since he's taken A Sister, I'll take The Neighbor's Window by
Oh,
Marshall Curry.
is he brother of Tim? What was it?
Uh,
Our boy Tim Curry, and then hanging with Mr. Cooper, Mark Curry, my boy. I'm
Ah,
very well. Good luck. If you guys win, whoever wins this cast talking your big $10 million independent feature film,
hey, I'm down for that.
your $10 million low budget independent feature film.
I always find that funny. 10 million low budget.
I know. And the next category is
Animated short film.
ooh.
And the nominees is Takara, Daughter, Hair Love, Kit Bull, Memorable, and Sister.
Wasn't sister in the last one, or is that a sister?
I think it was The Sister
The sister,
or something
Le
like that.
sister.
Something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to go with mine
Yeah,
first?
go with
Okay.
yours first.
I actually did see this animated short film. I seen this film, maybe like 6, 7 months ago, maybe a little longer. It was a short that was kind of floating around the internet because of how beautifully sad that it was. And that film is Kit Bull, which is about an abused dog, an abused or neglected cat that find each other and make each other's lives better through friendship and such, which is pulls at your heartstrings. So that's why I said that's why my vote goes to Kit Bowl.
Okay.
Kit Bowl.
Well, unfortunately, I have not seen any of these,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll throw my hat in the ring for Hair Love because I love my hair.
That's true. You have a beautiful head of hair.
I have a beautiful head of hair, and anyone who has a beautiful head of hair should love that hair.
If you were to take a wild shot, you should have picked one with a name that sounds foreign, because that's a nice touch. Give the underdog a little love. All right, our next category for the big 2020 Academy Award ceremonies is,
sound mixing.
and the nominees are, I feel like we're at the ceremony. And the nominees are Ad Astra, Ford versus Ferrari, Joker, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. For this, this is a kind of a toss up. Um, I think it would be either Ford versus Ferrari or 1917 because they're both very sound orientated films with, you have all the cars and the all that. And I heard Ford vs Ferrari was really good, and you have 1917, which is war, all the sounds of war. um my guess would probably be 1917 will take the gold man on that one. How
Yeah.
about you?
Well, out of all these, only ones that I saw was actually Joker and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I definitely do agree with Matt. 1917, from what I've seen and all that, that probably that will have the best sound mixing. So I'd have to go with Matt on that one.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Cool.
Cool.
All right. And the next category, the next award, is the illustrious and beloved Sound Editing Award.
Sound editing.
Oh, do you want to do the nominees? Or?
Okay. Sound editing. The nominees is Ford versus Ferrari, Joker, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Okay. For me, I would actually pick Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
I actually would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think
Because I uh with all of, similar to 1917, which what we talked about. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of fighting. You got the fighting sounds, you got the dialogue, you got all so much going on at the same time. And honestly, between the two of them, I would say 1917 and Star Wars probably would be the ones that are more neck and neck than the other ones.
Mhm.
I consider. But yeah, I throw my hat in the ring for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
I'd agree with that. And the next category is film
Editing.
and the nominees are Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, and Parasite. Indeed, this is one that all these films should definitely be nominated. This is kind of a hard one to go with. As much as I like The Irishman, I don't think the editing was too crazy.
Yeah.
Parasite was edited very nicely. I didn't see Ford and Ferrari, Ford versus Ferrari, but I assume the editing's probably top notch. And I say that because people loved it and the plot seemed like a very boring movie. So I will give film editing. I will say that the editors are the golden statues themselves of that film, and I will go out on a limb and say Ford versus Ferrari will win best film editing.
Alright. Me, I have to admit, I'd go with the Joker
Mm.
because when I was watching it, just how it went back and forth, especially since I know that I really doubt anyone who's hasn't seen the Joker, so I don't think I'm going to be spoiling anything. But
Mhm.
especially when it came to the relationship between Joker and the girl,
Mm.
and the editing, and when you finally realize that it wasn't exactly happening, but in his mind, and you sit back and you think about how it was edited together,
Mhm.
I thought it was really well done, and what actually things that helped the story. I thought.
I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
I almost want to switch mine over to the Joker too after you bring
No,
up that
no,
point, but
no.
I won't. I'll stay with Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay.
All right, the next category is cinematography.
And the nominees are
Are
The Irishman,
mm-hmm,
Joker,
mm,
The Lighthouse,
mm-hmm,
1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, as we said, I mean, I've seen The Irishman, Joker, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know you saw The Lighthouse recently.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, but it's actually kind of funny for me. I'd have to go with one that I definitely did not see, which is 1917.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because from what I've been watching and reading, um, now again, like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't say myself. But from everything I've been looking at, and also the trailers itself. I mean the trailer with the guy running with the explosions behind him, and him in the like one of 1917.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, beautiful. Every shot that I saw in the trailer brought me in. And plus, also, fact is, it's supposed to be, even though I'm sure there's a lot of camera tricks done, but it's supposed to be one continuous shot.
Yeah.
And anyone who's able to do a decent uh, a job, especially a war movie where you are trying to make it one continuous shot from beginning to end,
Mm-hmm.
following one person through all this madness that he's running through. I mean, deserves the Oscar off the bat, in my opinion.
The
Um,
editor does too.
yeah, but but I mean, like I said, I mean, from the shots I saw, I mean, it's a shame I haven't gotten to see it yet. I really do want to, but from what I've seen, I would say 1917 has the most dynamic cinematography.
Yeah. Um, a lot of great cinematographers are nominated here. The Irishman. I love the film. Cinematography wasn't anything too crazy. The Joker had a lot of good cinematography. With the Lighthouse, of course, it's funny that such a small like indie film that it cut a nomination, but it's for like the originality and the lighting. Black and white isn't the easiest thing to do. You know what I mean? So give kudos to them. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Robert Richardson's iconic cinematographer. Roger Deakins is as well. And I will have to agree with the Hawkman. 1917, I believe, will take the best cinematography for all the reasons why he said. And yeah, I heard about him. There was a lot. There was a lot of work put in. It was shot digitally, but a lot of work was put in to make it look more like film. And all those big war movies and stuff must be a pain to light. And like you said, it looked really good. So my vote would probably be for 1917 as well. And the next category is
Supporting actress.
indeed.
And the nominees are Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell, Laura Dern in Marriage Story, Scarlett Johansson in Jojo Rabbit, Florence Pugh in Little Women, and Margot Robbie in Bombshell. Okay. You want to go first with your thoughts?
Sure. There's a lot of good actresses here. I didn't get to see Richard Jewell. I know that me and Alex talked about it, and
Yeah.
we're hoping to get to see it. So I can't really. Kathy Bates usually does a good job. Um, I can't really. I didn't see any of these movies to tell you the truth. Um, but I'll take a shot in the dark. I heard Little Women was terrible. So definitely not that. I like Margot Robbie a lot, but Bombshell just doesn't seem like it just seems like it doesn't seem like any. I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything. I'm trying to find the right word. It just seems kind of, you know, not so out of the reach of what those regular things you take. But I'll say my vote for this is I'll give it to Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit
Uh,
because that seems like there was actually some acting to be done.
well, now out of all these, the only one I actually did see was Marriage Story, and I like Laura Dern. But her role in Marriage Story, she did it well. Um, but I really don't think it really. I mean, her character pretty much is um a divorce attorney who's pushing Scarlett Johansson's character into being tough as nails and going up against her husband. And well, I think Laura Dern did a decent enough job. I mean, the character she was playing, and I mean, as he said before, really didn't seem like a stretch at all.
Mm.
Um, I agree with Matt, especially Scarlett Johansson. I think that she's definitely really, getting. I think now really getting noticed more for her acting chops, and I mean she is nominated not only for supporting actress but also best actress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't seen Little Women, so I can't really say anything about that. Bombshell. I also love Margot Robbie, but I agree with Matt. I really don't see um, her role being that much of a stretch. But for me, I'm going to actually throw my hat in the ring for Kathy Bates
Very good choice. That would have been my second.
because first of all, I love Kathy Bates. I think she is definitely one of the best actresses out there.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever she's given a role, um, she always, you know, plays it to the nines and does it really well. Again, I mean, the trailers I saw, I really liked what I saw from her there. I also got to see a little bit of behind the scenes where she talked about, you know, talking to the real woman that she's portraying and all that. So, like I said, I would throw my hand for Kathy Bates because I know that definitely, um, she always brings her A
Yeah,
game.
she goes all out.
Yeah,
She gets deep into it.
yeah,
I think Scarlett will get it because they're not going to give her Best Actress, but Marriage Story was a lot of people like that as
yeah,
well. And Margot Robbie was Robbie on I, Tonya, which I thought was the best film of that year. She
yeah.
should have won Best Actress for that, and they kind of robbed her on that. So I don't think they're gonna, which was a way better movie, I assume, than Bombshell is. So unfortunately, I don't think they'll give it to her. But I would have to agree with the Hawkman. It's either Scarlett Johansson or Kathy Bates
Yeah.
taking home that gold. And the next category is
Supporting actor.
ooh. And the nominees are Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes, Al Pacino, The Irishman, Joe Pesci, The Irishman, Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Now I have to say, the only one movie in this I have not seen yet. All the others I have seen. So I'm happy to say I have a better idea who I'd pick
Yeah.
out of this. Um, now I haven't seen A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I definitely do want to see it. I mean, as Matt knows, I'm a huge Tom Hanks fan,
Mm-hmm.
and also a huge lover
Mr.
of
Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Frederick A.
Yeah, and Now, I'm not throwing my hat in the ring behind Tom Hanks, and there's two reasons. Not because I don't think that he did a good job, um, but there's two things I find that's really stacked up against him on this, and one is, I mean, Tom is no stranger for playing people that have existed, that based on real people. Um, but out of all the other real people that he's played, none of them I think are as known or notable as Mr. Rogers. I While I from of the trailers what I saw, I think Tom Hanks did a very good job trying to emulate and fit the role, but I could not. I mean, I could not see him as Mr. Rogers. I could only see him as Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers.
I agree.
And also on the second thing, I mean he's already won 2 Oscars. Uh I think only 2. Has he won?
Forrest Gump and maybe Philadelphia.
Philadelphia and Forrest Gump, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And the thing,
Saving Private Ryan, did he win?
honestly, I don't know.
All right.
But I mean, like I said, I'm sure that he did a great job, but I don't think that he did a job that especially compared to some of the other people he's going up against. Um, like I said, I think that while I love Tom Hanks, I really don't think he's going to walk away with a Best Supporting Actor. Um, Anthony Hopkins in The Two Popes. Anthony Hopkins is another great actor. I mean, he when he has a role, he makes it his own and all that. And his portrayal of unfortunately I can't think of the pope before our current pope. I forget the guy's name. Is the one Anthony Hopkins.
Pope Francis? Is that what we have him now, I think. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and
the rock and roll Pope.
Yeah, I think that is I don't know.
Pope's the devil.
Yeah, well, what you gonna do, right? But anyway, I think Anthony Hopkins did a great job in that role. But again, I mean, like with Tom Hanks, I didn't see, and I saw him do a good job. I don't see it as anything greater than what he's already done, I guess. And while I enjoyed him, I thought he did a great job.
It's difficult to kind of give people the go ahead for the award when you've seen them do other great or better acting jobs that they didn't win for.
Yeah.
So that like plays into your head.
Yeah.
Like the Margot Robbie thing.
Yeah. I mean the thing is like Tom Hanks, Anthony Hopkins, I think they did great jobs. I would but I don't think that they'll win. There's one person I definitely think should not be up at all.
Really?
And that's Brad Pitt.
I really like Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time. I don't think he's gonna win, but I think he did a great job with the film.
Yeah, I think he did a great job in the film, but while, like I was talking about Tom Hanks and Anthony Hopkins, they have done so many great performances, and I'm sure that they did great performances there. Brad Pitt, he did a great performance, but his role is so Brad Pitt. I mean, there's no stretching. With Tom Hanks and Anthony Hopkins, they attempt to stretch, okay, and whether they actually stretched it to a better performance of other things that they've done, that's in question. But Brad Pitt, I mean, he played a good role, but not a role that really stretched him in any way.
I'd go as far to say that I think Brad Pitt probably deserves to be on the list more than Tom Hanks and Anthony Hopkins.
I don't.
Hey! Not win, but on the list.
Yeah. Well, on the list. I will always put my hat.
And I like everybody. I'm
but
just saying.
okay, so that brings us down to the
To-
two Irishmen
To the
here.
two Irishmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Pacino and Mr. Pesci. Now, Pacino, I like Pacino, but as him as Hoffa, I see more Pacino than Hoffa.
He's very Pacino in it.
He's very Pacino in it. Now,
so much so it slides into comedy.
Yeah.
But I love the minute.
But Pesci should walk home with supporting actor, hands down.
I agree.
No competition.
I agree.
No competition whatsoever. Because Joe
fucking competition!
Am I funny to you? Am I funny?
Exactly.
Because Joe Pesci did what I consider for him an Oscar-winning performance. Because, first of all, he is playing a gangster, and he's played gangsters before, but he's playing a different type of gangster. And one of the things that a lot of actors, I find that, if they always play, let's say, gangsters or firemen or cops or whatever, and they keep on getting those roles, they get into that little niche where, okay, they're only this type of cop, and they only do this way. And Joe Pesci, he was in that for quite a long time. You always saw him as the angry, over the top. But this is a matured, quiet, and actually more intimidating and scary Joe Pesci, because before you had the Joe Pesci who's like, he's going to snap on you, he's going to kill you, and this is a Joe Pesci who's like, he might have you whacked. He's not going to do it himself.
It's more realistic. He's more of a Don.
Yeah.
Where in the other ones, he's kind of like a foot soldier.
Yeah.
Like a respected foot soldier that you don't want to fuck with. But in this one, he's more of a matured gangster.
Yeah.
He's almost like the Polly role in Goodfellas, where he doesn't, he doesn't move quick, but that's only because he doesn't have to move for anybody type deal. But yeah, he came out of retirement for this. I think a big part of why he came out of retirement is because this was such a different role than the, mob roles he's played before. And it's a Scorsese endeavor with Pacino and De Niro. I mean, why would you not come back for it? But yeah, I think we talked in previous episodes about his acting, and it was just, he has that, there's a lot on his mind. Even though he don't say a lot, you can still see his character developing and going through, moods and such without having to say it. You know what I mean? It's all inner. It's like an inner thing. So I agree with the Hawk. We've had many discussions.
Yeah.
I think this is, I think this is probably the category that we're most, firm on who we really think. Like, if Joe Pesci doesn't win Best Supporting Role, I'll be a little disappointed. You know what I mean?
I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed. But yeah, I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned in this, there's no competition. Joe Pesci should walk home with the statue on this one.
And it's a great, all the nominees are great. I mean, I know I said the thing about Tom Hanks and Anthony Hopkins. I don't take anything away from them. But, yeah.
We're going to fight afterwards.
And Pacino, we're going to make love. And Pacino was great in it, but like I said, he was so over the top with it that it slid. It kind of slid into comedy in certain aspects,
Yeah. And
the next category is Best Leading Actress. And the nominees are
Cynthia Erivo from Harriet, Scarlett Johansson from Marriage Story,
yes,
Saoirse Ronan, Little Women, Charlize Theron, Bombshell, Renee Zellweger as Judy. Okay, you want to?
My pick, I think Cynthia Erivo is going to win for Harriet. It's just because of the type of film it is. You know what I mean? The story
Yeah.
that they're telling is kind of a powerful story about, it's Little Women. I heard was awful. I didn't see it. Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story. I feel like she just kind of plays a wife getting divorced, which has its drama to that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got Charlize Theron and Bombshell. She also produced it. I don't know. I vaguely know the plot a little bit. Very with the times with the whole, you know, like sexual assault in the workplace
Yeah.
type thing, which is itself is an important film, especially right now. But I just don't really see her. I don't, like I said with some of the other categories. I don't really see any outstanding, acting to be involved. And Renee Zellweger has been so fucking far out of the mix of everything that I don't think they'll give it to her just for the politics of her not being everywhere.
Yeah.
But I do think Cynthia Erivo will win for Harriet, the Harriet Tubman movie, as Harriet, because I think it's just a more powerful film. And from what I've seen of it, it looks like, when you're playing a character like that based off a real person, uh, it's such like a weird, dark subject in a dark time in history. Um, there's a lot of emotion that comes from that, and I think I think it's probably I don't want to say the most important film of all the films. Definitely one of the most important films of all the films, and I think that I think that she will. I think she'll win Best Leading Actress.
Okay. All right. Now, out of all of them, the only one I had seen was Marriage Story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Matt has a lot of good points and agree. Now, for me, I'll throw my hat in actually behind Scarlett Johansson.
Mm.
Now, I watched Marriage Story, and to be perfectly honest, I was not. It wasn't. I mean, I really wasn't really a big fan of this of the film. I was a fan of Scarlett Johansson in it. I thought I mean, out of everyone in the entire film, she was the only one that I really, you know, felt how she was feeling throughout the film. And plus, also, I think it's great that she's getting a lot more acknowledgement. I mean, she's up for supporting actress in Jojo Rabbit, and in this, she's up for leading actress. Um, the other person I want to mention, even though I haven't seen the film, is Bombshell with Charlize Theron, because um, out of like a lot of the actresses nowadays, I always have a lot of respect for her because she she always like delves into the character. She's one of the few actresses that disappears when she takes over a character. So I'm sure that she did a phenomenal role in that film.
But it's not like disappearing into the Eileen
Yeah,
Vernos
and
there, turning in the monster. You know what I mean?
that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. But like I said, I mean, for me, I'll throw in the hat for Scarlett Johansson because as far as I was concerned, she was the only redeeming thing in that film.
And the next category is
Leading actor.
oh.
Okay, and the nominees are Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory,
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver in Marriage Story, Joaquin Phoenix in Joker, and Jonathan Pryce, The Two Popes.
Well, my vote for the best leading actor in a motion picture of the 2020 Academy Awards would be Hakeem Phoenix, of course, for Joker. I think I didn't see Pain and Glory, even though Antonio Banderas usually gives a good performance. DiCaprio, big fan, thought he was great in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I don't think it went as far as Hakeem went in Joker. Adam Driver kind of plays the same role in every movie. Um, and Jonathan Pryce, I didn't check out the two popes. But from what I seen from clips and such, it didn't seem like it was. I think he looked a lot like the Pope. That's kind of why he was officially thrown into that film. But nothing against him as an actor. I'm sure he's a great actor. But yeah, Hakeem Phoenix, I definitely thought was a Joker. There was different levels. I mean, you really feel bad for the character. One thing he's really great for is that pity stuff, where he goes so deep into the darkness or whatever that you really kind of feel for the actor. So when he has his come ups or whatever, you can really root for him. And I think he was perfectly casted as the Joker in the film. The only thing that I rewatched the Joker when I picked it up on Blu-ray, and I wasn't as big of a fan as I was maybe the first time around when I seen it in theaters. I still liked it. Still thought it was a great movie. The end scene with him at the talk show with De Niro when he kills De Niro, I thought was really weird character wise, because he has like a it's kind of it's real, it's different. I think that it's different from the other parts in the film, where I almost feel like those scenes were shot first, and like the character continued to develop throughout the film. So like I really feel like the Joker at the end of the film in that scene is kind of different than the other Joker, but it's a slow progress. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not saying anything bad about it, because I still think he's best leading actor. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think above all other people, he was the one that had to take the biggest arches and change up him for the role. So that's who I would vote for best leading actor. How about you?
Well, I've seen all these except Pain and Glory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, I really wish I had seen Pain and Glory, because I mean, from the bit I've seen, it looks like Antonio Banderas really did a great job. Um, yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think that he's going to win it. I believe that they're going to give it to Joaquin Phoenix. Um, Leonardo DiCaprio and Adam Driver. Um, they did decent jobs in their films, but nothing Oscar worthy as far as I'm concerned. Kind of the same feeling I had with like Brad Pitt, that they did a good job, but it's like I said, not Oscar worthy. Honestly, I will throw my hat behind Jonathan Pryce. He's an actor that I always liked. I think he's underappreciated. I really think.
I don't appreciate him, so you're right there.
Well, anyway, I mean, I really liked how he played his role. There's a whole part where, you know, he's pretty much being asked by the current pope at the time to take over for him, because that pope knows he has to step down, and Jonathan Pryce's character is like, no, I can't, and he's like, why? And he says, well, he goes through his backstory where um, he he makes a decision that that ends up costing the lives of some of the priests that were underneath him, and of course that weighs heavy on him, and he really believes that because of that, and he's been kind of penance himself since that that he should not have the role of pope, and it's one of the things that everyone says is like the best person for a important position is someone who does not want it, because when you have someone who wants the job, they always end up abusing it. If someone doesn't want the job, especially if that they know how important that is, they're going to hopefully if they end up with it, try to, because they know how important that job is. So I really liked his performance in there. I think both him and Anthony Hopkins worked very well off each other. Um, while, like I said, with Anthony Hopkins, I really didn't see him step up his game, but I did feel like Jonathan Pryce stepped up his game. So I know that in the long run, he's probably not going to win it, but I would throw my hat behind him.
That was a good push.
I'm rooting for you, Jonathan.
One JP will win. I'll say that. Either Hakeem or Jonathan.
Yeah.
Maybe John Pierce.
John Pierce. That would be good.
I voted for him.
Next one is adapted screenplay. And the nominees are
The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, The Two Popes. I seen two of these films, so I kind of have to vote on just the two that I've seen. The Irishman, I just recently picked up the book. I haven't read it yet, but Steve Zillian usually does a good job. You know, he's been writing a lot of Scorsese stuff lately. And Joker, I assume, is just based off of the comic book. And, you know, they definitely went in their own direction with that a little bit. But I think, you know, the way that they circled in, you know, the mental health aspect of it and what they did with Joker to kind of be, you know, a character of the times, you know what I mean, and bring in a lot of the social commentary of what's going on, political and, you know, and the health fields of current life now, I thought was really, really well done. So for best adapted screenplay, I would probably give it to Joker, with The Irishman shortly behind. But like I said, I didn't get a chance to see The Two Popes, Little Women, or Jojo Rabbit.
Well, I mean, well, I did see Two Popes. I don't know much about the source material that it's coming from. But I also watched Joker and The Irishman. Me personally, I definitely will now throw my hat behind the Joker for adapted screenplay for the same reason that I've mentioned before, where I think the film is great. I think the script's great, but it's adapted screenplay, and it's not really adapted from any comic books. I mean, that I read or know about. I'm sure that someone will tell me that I'm totally wrong, and it's like, oh, this was in issue 55 DC something. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, when I watched the Joker the movie, I put in the same kind of. I mean, it's like if they did the movie Private Joker about the guy from Full Metal Jacket. Has the exact same connection to the Joker comic books as this movie. This movie is pretty much Taxi Driver and King of Comedy put together, which is, you know, a good product and a cool thing to do. But like I said, I do not consider this film connected with, you know, the source material of the Joker in the comic book. I mean, if that's what they're trying to say with the adapted screenplay, I don't see that. Me, I'll throw my hat in the ring for The Irishman. I haven't read the book, but from what I know about the book and from the film, it seems that they did a good job adapting the book for the film. And it's funny because some people made a comment about some inconsistencies in what, you know, actually happened, what could have been proved. But the things is that those inconsistencies is what that guy, you know, told the person who wrote the book. So, you know, which I appreciate instead of them trying like, oh, we're going to try to shoehorn an explanation that's not in the book. So either way, I throw my hat in the ring for The Irishman.
Yeah, I think it's either Joker or The Irishman. I just took the Joker because the adapted screenplay is just kind of taking source material and putting your own twist on it type deal, which I think is what they did with Joker. But to each his own. Irishman, I love The Irishman, as you'll later find out more. All right, and the next category is the most magnificent.
The original screenplay.
Original screenplay. The nominees are Knives Out, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite.
Well, I mean, out of these, I've only seen Marriage Story and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see Knives Out, but again, that's another movie that unfortunately I missed out on so far. I do hear that they are planning on doing a sequel to Knives Out, which sounds interesting, and I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Forks Out.
Forks out. I like that. So they're just going to be forking around, right?
Oh. You want to get paid for that tagline?
Yeah, but I mean, I throw my hat in the ring behind Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I really liked the dialogue, the way everything worked together. I mean, it's a Quentin Tarantino film, and it has a Quentin Tarantino feel from beginning to end. It is funny because everyone mentions that this is the least Quentin Tarantino film. But I don't agree. I mean, I agree to the point that it doesn't have as much how should we say, violence.
Chutzpah.
Violence as a regular Quentin Tarantino film usually has.
The last 20 minutes is a regular Quentin Tarantino movie.
But I mean, but the thing is that with everything leading up to it, and everything, I really liked how the characters were flushed out. The dialogue between Leonardo DiCaprio and the young girl, as far as I'm concerned, is actually some of the best stuff in the film. I really liked it. And Marriage Story, I thought was okay. I mean, I just really, it didn't, wow me. But yeah, yep.
My vote would be for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We agreed on something.
As everybody knows, they Quentin, that's kind of the Academy Award that he wins when he wins his Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah.
I think he even considers himself a writer first and a director second. And yeah, Once Upon a Time, big epic tale.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it's kind of a new route for Quentin where it's more of a character study of two friends and, their working relationship and their regular friendship relationship. And, it doesn't turn into a real Quentin Tarantino movie, exciting, over the top violence and stuff until that last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But this is probably his most well-received film since maybe Pulp Fiction. Everybody kind of seemed to love this and was praising it up. And Quentin's a dude that doesn't really. I think he's a great filmmaker, and he's got a lot of haters, and people like to trash him and trash his films when they come out. But this was a movie that I think just about everybody, got behind and said how great it was. So I think he'll definitely take the original screenplay award. But Parasite was real good too. But I think he'll take the International Foreign Film Award, and I think that'll probably be, it for its achievement. But it was a great film, and just to be nominated is a good thing. I've never really been a big Noah Baumbach fan. I always thought his movies were a little overrated. But it is what it is, All right, Best Directing.
And the nominees are The Irishman, Martin Scorsese,
Mm-hmm.
Joker, Todd Phillips, 1917, Sam Mendes. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino. And Parasite, Bong Joon-ho.
This is a very difficult one because all these directors did a great job, and you have some iconic directors. You have Scorsese, who is probably I feel the best living director going right now. We have Todd Phillips, who's a great director in his own right, did a lot of great comedies, and with the Joker, I think he's showing that he can do that dramatic stuff too. Because I felt it was more of a dramatic film than anything
Yeah.
else. You know what I mean? 1917 was, that was a cool film too. Like we credit the cinematography and stuff. It's kind of a story that's been told a bunch of times. So it's one of those things like Little Women. Like they've adapted Little Women like 3 or 4 times. I feel like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, great film. I think Quentin Tarantino's a great director, like I just said in the previous nomination spot. Um, but I don't know if they'll give him a best directing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, Parasite with Bong Joon Ho was, I watched that recently, and I was, because there was some hype around it, and it was a really cool film. It was a psychological thriller with like, some current, economic times type of twists in it. A very original, um, and it was a really good film. I don't know if they'll give him Best Director. If I was to have to put my money on who they're going to give Best Director to, this is a really tough category. I could see literally any one of these guys winning. This is really a toss up. This is going to be one of those ones. When I do this, I'll be like, really, I'll be on the edge of my seat. But I will say Scorsese, strictly because I think he's one of the best living directors, and I liked how The Irishman was great, and I think it was really him kind of wrapping up his mafia
Yeah.
type trilogy. Like it was the perfect bookend for his mob films that we've all grown to love. So as much as I think Todd Phillips did a great job directing the Joker. It's such a hard category, and
Yeah.
Tarantino is great. And Parasite in 1917 were good times, but I'd probably have to throw my money behind Scorsese just for all the years of entertaining his films and stuff. But it could literally go to any of these people. Your opinion?
Alright, well, I have to say that between all these, and I agree with Matt that all these are well deserving directors that are up here. I will, even though I have given the film a lot of crap, I would throw my head in behind Todd Phillips' Joker,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason is because I mean Todd Phillips, started out doing doing Hangover comedies,
G.G.
and
Allen documentary was his first thing ever.
oh, okay,
Hated. Great documentary. Great documentary.
but I mean, the Joker really shows that he can really delve into a dark subject matter and really give it its all. I mean, great casting, great setup and all that.
It's complicated. The
Yeah,
film's complicated how it goes back and forth
yeah,
with emotions, which you gotta take into consideration for
yeah,
that. The Irishman's more of it's a pace that doesn't
yeah,
really change. I mean, you have the twist towards the end with the Hoffa thing,
yeah,
but like for the most part, it's just kind of
yeah,
paint by numbers almost, where the Joker jumps around in the
yeah.
different things. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, like I said, out of all of them, I would say the Joker to Todd Phillips for the simple fact that it is a big jump from other stuff he's done.
Hmm.
And while everyone else, great directors, I mean, the films that they've done aren't, I don't think, from what I know of them, aren't a huge step from what they've done before. Not saying that they aren't deserving of recognition for that. It's just that if I was handing out the award, the Oscar, I try to give it to someone who, either shows a huge jump in talent, or like, I mean, perfect example, Stanley Kubrick. I mean, Stanley Kubrick did, sci-fi with 2001: Space Odyssey. He also did horror with The Shining. I mean, the jumping back and forth, and that's how I see with Todd Phillips, where he was mainly in comedy, and then he jumped into doing the Joker and doing a very good and gripping dark subject matter, which is out of his original wheelhouse. So that's why I would throw my hat in the ring behind the Joker.
Kubrick never won a directing Academy
Never
Award.
did?
Never. He won an Academy Award for special effects for 2001.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't take certain things too seriously.
Yeah.
But with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, another great film.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'll give Quentin directing. I think that he's more of, they give him the writing, the best original screenplay, which I think he'll get that this year.
Yeah.
I'd be a little surprised if he did win Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But yeah, like I said, all the nominees were great, made great films. It's very hard. That was a very hard one.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
And then the last and the crowning achievement at the end, okay, Best Picture.
I know. We got Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Whew, what a list. Ford versus Ferrari, I did not see, so I can't really comment on that. I know that people did like it a lot, which I give it credit for because it didn't seem like the most exciting plot. But people did love it. Um, the Irishman, a lot of people had a little issue with the length and the de-aging process and stuff. I thought it was great. The length didn't bother me at all. I've probably watched it like 5 or 6 times in its entirety since it came out. And I will say with the Irishman, that's a film that no matter how many times I watch it, it doesn't lose its spark. It doesn't lose its, the gel or whatever that makes it entertaining and fun. Jojo Rabbit I didn't see. I know a lot of people seen it and they thought it was a good time. Joker, of course. I love the Joker as well. Little Women I didn't see. Marriage Story I didn't really bother to see. 1917 I didn't see, but I see out of what I've seen of it, it looked really good. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a great flick. Parasite was a great flick. Again, I don't think they'll give it to Parasite. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I mean, it could win. I think that could be up for Best Picture. The 3 films that I consider squaring off are Irishman, Joker, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that is quite a competition, and that is it's a hard pick. It's a real hard pick. But I'll say I see, I went to go see Joker and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in theaters, and I will say that when I watched them after I bought the Blu-ray when they come out, I didn't feel they were both as good as the first time I seen them in theaters. But that's also you taking away the excitement and that of seeing it on the big screen with all the surround sound bumping, and there's no better way to see a movie than in theaters. The Irishman was a Netflix release, so it was on the TV. Like I said, it wasn't as action packed as the Joker or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it was like only because it wasn't supposed to be that type of movie. And I really liked the fact that it was kind of the bookend to his mafia movies, and it was a more mature mobster movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think people overlooked that, and they just wanted like a Goodfellas or something where you weren't getting that. You're supposed to have matured with they're not the same characters, but you're maturing with this theme, of the Scorsese mobster films. Such a hard decision because You get Joker, which is like it was a really cool film, and it was based on the social climate of what was going on, and with like all the mental health issues that
Yeah,
everybody's dealing with now, and him coming off of his meds and stuff like that, and just the old time feel of like be kind to people
yeah,
because the way you treat people, y- it goes deep. It buries deep into their minds, and if somebody's beaten and battered down enough, like this is what you could get from them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like that aspect of it, with that aspect of it, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's a real fun movie. You know what I mean? I feel like it's not. It's not. We throw around important a lot, which Harry wasn't even
yeah,
nominated for Best Picture, but we throw around important a lot tonight. But to go with importance, I probably have to say the Joker because the things that it tackles in that film
yeah,
is important, and I think the way it jumps around and you know, I thought
yeah,
it's one of those things. Um, so I would probably have to say give Best Picture to the Joker, even though I think The Irishman and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are shortly behind it. I wouldn't be surprised if those won. I think that unfortunately giving Scorsese in his films awards are almost becoming old hat because like he's
yeah,
such an iconic filmmaker that it's like when you're that iconic, it's like you can make a great movie, but it's expected of you to
yeah,
make a great movie. So like they don't quite look at it in the same light as like if somebody. I think that's why The Irishman didn't really catch the respect that it deserved because like that Scorsese making a mobster movie. Um, there's so much like what do you call it?
expectation.
Expectation. There's so
Yeah,
much expectation going into it that like when it's good, you're like, okay, you feel safe at first. Like you can't take it all in because it's like okay, you feel safe knowing that okay, if he didn't, it's not a he didn't
yeah,
like destroy his legacy, and I think people were more focused in on that than the actual film itself. So
yeah,
like I think that it didn't quite get the respect that it deserved. Um, but because a lot of people were giving that movie hard times, I thought The Irishman was great, and I will
yeah,
say that out of those three films that I think that like going back when I watched them going back, The Irishman was the only film that I couldn't really my attitude and opinion of it when I first watched it didn't change on multiple watches, whereas in the other two movies, I think after the first watch was incredible, and after that they weren't bad movies by any means, but they were just you know what I mean. It was like they lost a little something. You know what I
yeah,
mean. But I would have to give it to Joker just because of the themes that it
yeah.
kind of tackles.
Uh,
How about you?
well, for me, I agree with a lot of what you said.
Well, thank you.
Uh, but but I would pick Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Interesting.
and the reason is that I believe Best Picture
Mm-hmm.
not only, and of course, admittedly, I haven't seen all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but out of the ones I have seen, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the one that I can see myself, coming home someday, throwing on and watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Best Picture not only has to be, either important or have, some kind of, significance.
Shelf
But
life.
yeah, but I think the big thing, a film has to win Best Picture for me. It has to be a film not only that is important, well done, put together, and all that, but also one that I can see watching more than once. And that's the best picture in my opinion. One that I can watch now and then come home another day and toss on and watch again. All the others, even the ones I haven't seen, I can't really see, just tossing them on. But Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is such a. For me, it kind of feels like old slippers.
It does.
You put it on, you sit back, you enjoy the music, you enjoy the characters and the repertoire back and forth. And like I said, while Joker definitely hits a lot of important things that should be talked about, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I consider the best
Right.
out of these. Yeah.
A lot of good, a lot of good nominations. And like I
Yeah.
said, those three, Irishman, Joker, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think, wow, it was such a tough call, but I'd give it to Joker, but like I said, because of like the
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 themes.
society
Yeah,
situation
society.
and stuff like that. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was great,
Yeah.
and it'd be nice to see Quentin win a Best Picture because he's
Yeah.
only won screenplays,
Screenplays, yeah.
original screenplay awards, which he will this year too.
Oh, heck yeah.
But that's our nomination.
Those
That's
are
our
our
picks.
nominations.
Those are our picks for the nominated films of the 2020 Academy Award.
And
ceremony.
after this, within a few hours, there will be the actual Oscars that will pick their choices. They might be like ours, or it might be completely different. We might get a curveball, and Jonathan Price wins best.
Maybe they'll watch. Maybe they'll have enough time to watch the BoomBastiCAST and change their decisions on
They're
our
like,
opinions.
damn, you know what? These guys are right. Throw this out. This person should win. But yeah, I hope you liked what we talked about. And like I said, this is our own opinions. Feel free to disagree or so forth. But yeah, I mean, out of everything we've talked about, I think we picked some good picks.
And they made some good flicks.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, all the movies nominated. If you haven't seen them yet, that it's not the end of the world. You still have time to go see them. Go check them out. And I guess in the comments section you could leave your opinion. We'd like to see your picks, what you think are going to win the categories, and yeah, enjoy.
Enjoy.
Take out a couple hours and watch it. It is the Super Bowl of cinema. So get down with it. And we'll see you on the next BoomBastiCAST.
Peace.